Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'll be showing you guys my top 5 tier 8 tech tree tanks that is just most fun to play in Blitz. I chose tier 8 just because tier 8 is the only place where everyone or normal people, just average players, like to play, because tier 10 is highly skilled and lower tiers are like for noobs. So yeah, so starting with the Tiger 2. Oh, before we start, actually, I would like to say that this is my top 5 views. So if you guys don't agree with this, don't like rage on me or like put harsh comments in the comment section. But I would be glad to know what your top 5 videos are in, not videos, tanks, in the comment section below. So let's start with the Tiger 2 now. So the Tiger 2 got recently buffed, like 2 or 3 updates back, major updates, and not minor, like 6.0, I don't know when it was buffed, but it got buffed on its armor, and it made it very strong. It's like more, it got buffed way too much. It didn't need that much buff, but hey, a buff is a buff. And it also got buffed on its gun. So the gun now, it got DPM buff basically. So, and I think a little bit of dispersion and aiming time buff as well. Maybe, I don't remember. But this tank is now a beast, and it's on my top 5, and it's at the 5th place. So you know what's coming next. And remember, this is fun tanks, so this is kind of my least favorite fun tank, I guess, on top 5, like out of all the 5. So yeah, this tank you can brawl pretty easily because basically the enemy sees red, nothing else except TDs, unless you switch to gold shells where you can just easily pen the front of this tank. But basically you just have to look at the enemy with your turret and the hull, like facing the enemy, so you can just ricochet easily. And this tank can also side scrape, but just remember there's a hatch on this tank, so the hatch is pretty big, which is a weak point. But pretty much you can just brawl in this tank. This tank is not made for sniping, but you can occasionally snipe, but just don't rely on that gun to snipe pretty easily. So yeah, that's a Tiger 2 for you. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so my top 4th position tank is the ISU 152. So I like this tank because of the gun, the BL10, the legendary BL10. So it has like 286 millimeters of pen. It's like enough to go against some tier 10s, but not most, because E100s and like super heavies do exist. But still, against tier 9s, this thing can just go Bert, basically. It can just penetrate any tank in the game, and not any tank in the game. Did I just say any tank in the game? I mean tier 9 or tier 8 or tier 7. It's not gonna go against anything else unless you're in a training room. So this tank has absolutely no armor except the gun mantlet. The gun mantlet is pretty big, so you can bounce on the front, but you can't bounce anywhere else. And the gun's accuracy is good for its tier and the gun it has. But I was confused whether should I take RHM or this tank. But apparently I'm liking this tank more because the RHM, yeah, the dispersion is not the best. So I couldn't hit shots that much, while the ISU is just so much fun to play. So yeah, I chose the ISU over the RHM. Maybe you guys don't like the RHM because of the turret, but I like the ISU. So the traverse speed is also not the best on the ISU, but it works for me, I guess. So yeah, ISU is another tank that you should have fun playing. So let's move on to the 3rd tank on the list. So the 3rd tank on the list, or top 3rd tank out of the 5, is the P44 Pantera. So the gun is basically why I love this tank. The gun is just crazy. I love the gun, but I think the Progetto can do a better job than this, the Progetto 46. But still, as a tech tree tank, it does the job. So the gun is basically an auto reloading gun, where you can shoot in your individual shells and reload individual shells, unlike the auto loading tanks like that AMX, who is just sitting there. I'm gonna shoot HE on his butt. So auto loading tanks is basically where you shoot like 2 or 3 shells or 4 shells, and then reload the whole clip. But in this tank you can reload individual shells. So the gun, besides the gun, the armor is kind of weird on this tank. It's not the best, but you can bounce on the turret because of the mantlet. The mantlet is covering the whole front part of the turret, leaving a little bit, and the hatch as well. But I would not rely on the armor anyways. So as a normal average player, I would not suggest getting this tank. I would actually, as a normal average player makes sense. But if you know how to play medium tanks and you want to give this a shot, feel free to do so. It's a good tank. In right hands, of course. But you can't say right hands like that. It's not noob friendly, like completely noob. You can't YOLO in this tank. But you can do good if you just focus on what you're doing and actually like help the team out. You can play second line in this tank. As you can see, right now I'm front lining because there's no one to hold. And I know that we're winning anyways. And you can actually see I bounced this 49 right here just because I wiggled. Your hull is also kind of troll if you wiggle hard, but not against tanks which have a high pen. And here I max roll the enemy Pantera. So as you see, I'm just reloading one shell at a time just to get that damage out, because I know that the game is about to end, so why not just have some damage. And unfortunate bounce of that shot. So now I'm like, should I put one shot in? I'm just gonna put two. The reload on this gun is pretty good as well, 4 shots. So yeah, I couldn't clear him because the alpha is like 225 on this tank. So yeah, that's the Pantera for you. Let's get on the next tank. So the second best tank is the Slapper, the good old T49. I love this tank so much because of the alpha. It's basically because of the alpha and the speed. There is no armor on this tank at all unless you hit the track. So this tank has like 560 alpha on its gun, but the dispersion is like the KV2 level dispersion. You can't basically hit just snapshot and everything. And it has Hesh at its second round, and it has no HE. Hesh is interestingly only has like 780. I think it's 780 damage per shot, average damage. And the penetration is not the best one, but you're gonna see this E4 having some issues in a bit, and he's gonna get slapped. So yeah, this is the 49. So basically just run around the map slapping people on their butt, or maybe the front, as I'm gonna do in a bit. So I'm just trying to help the T54, who's interestingly not gonna die that quick as he gets a bounce. And here the dispersion, I don't know what was this. I don't know where the shot went, like why did it go on the ground. So this T54 is kind of okay. Now he's dead. So I'm just waiting to see what happens, and this object 252 just misses because I just stop and I just try to hit that Skoda. As you can see, that alpha is just so good on this tank. That's why people spam this tank a lot. And I like the legendary camo on this as well. It's pretty good. So I'm here just trying to hit that 252 and like kind of do some stuff with that 252, but I can't pen him. As you can see, the heat doesn't have the best pen, and it's heat. Yeah, I forgot to say one thing. Just remember one thing, that you have Hesh and heat, so you can't like shoot through buildings in this tank. So basically, you know, buildings which you can shoot AP through and hit the tank, even if it's behind the building, which is breakable. You can't do in this tank because heat and Hesh don't go through buildings. They just splash at the building and don't go through it. So here I'm just gonna somehow I've switched at the ammo and shoot at the exact same time, so Hesh comes out instead of heat. So I'm just running away from this waffle, and then I realize he just shot that leopard, so I'm just gonna go around and he's just reloading while I'm gonna reload before him. And here's a superhero landing. So yeah, this is the T49 for you. Just remember, you can get rammed and you're squishy. So if you see another T49 looking at you, don't poke, because you have no armor and he's gonna Hesh you on your front. And you're gonna see how your armor, there's no armor on your tank soon. So here I'm just trying, the Waffle said he's at C and I saw he's capping C, so I just go C, and then yeah, I hit this 53 and yeah, I get rammed to death somehow. So I just touched that 53 TP and died for 100. He did like 100 damage on me. So yeah, that's why don't ram in this tank unless you're playing like a game mode or something. I mean, if you want to die, you can, but I would not suggest doing that. So let's move on to the last tank, which is the first top 1 tank that I enjoy in Blitz. So let's get into it. So my most fun tank to play in tier 8 as a tech tree tank is the VK100-01P. It's basically armor everywhere. So the gun, you can't say much about the gun because the gun is not the main part of this tank. But you're gonna see soon how the dispersion, even though it's bad, I still hit shots like interestingly. So the gun on this thing, the dispersion and the aim time is not the best. Like, it's just traditional 120. It's not a 122mm gun, but you can say it's a 122. And I hit that 334-3. He didn't even know where did I hit him. But he didn't say anything, of course. But the VK100 is basically made for armor, like the mouse, of course. Mouse is not known for its gun, it's known for its armor. But this tank has 460 alpha for its tier, so it's kind of known for its gun because it derps like crazy, because you don't expect it to do 460 and you just expect to do 400. And then you get max rolls like 500, 515, something like that. And then you just delete the tank. But the armor, very basically, if you are on the looking at the armor on the front, the hatch and the lower plate, that's the only two things that you can shoot. Everything else is red, even if you switch to premium shells, except in a TD, that is. As you can see, it's barely the cheeks I can pen it, but you can't pen the cheek that much. So I just go for the side of the tank because I don't know why you're showing the side. But another thing you can do is face hug and then try to gun block the enemy tank or enemy's gun. Just go in sniper mode and look at its gun, as I'm trying to do right now. But then I try to hit the hatch, but I couldn't because I just hit his gun, as you can see. And he hits me back. So I'm apparently 3v1ing. There's an IS, 047 and the VK100. I saw the VK100 shot, so I'm just going to turn around for the 047. But I hit the IS because I knew that I could just delete him because 471 is nothing for me. So I don't know how did I win this 1v3. My team just came back and just helped me out real quick while I was just taking all the shots and getting the bounces. So yeah, this is the VK100 for you. The VK100 is my most favorite tank to play. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.
It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity.